world would not be the same. Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent. I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." I suppose we all thought that one way or another.
Hey everyone, I'm back with another Supervillians Explored video. Today we're going to be looking at my personal favorite Iron Man villain of all time, the enormous alien dragon Fang Foom, whose name is actually Chinese for the phrase, "He whose limbs shatters mountains and whose back scrapes the sun." And yes, that is in fact what his name means. I didn't make that up. But I digress. Let's get into the origin of Fang Foom. First and foremost, when Fang Foom was first introduced in the Marvel Comics, a lot of his origin was unexplained. Because when Stan Lee and Jack Kirby first introduced him, the readers actually believed that he was a real Chinese dragon from the Chinese mythology. And when he first appeared, he was awakened by a young Chinese teenager who was on the run from a very oppressive communist Chinese government. When the teenager awakens Fang Foom, he manages to scare them off, and then he's put back into sleep. We don't actually find out Fang Foom's real origins for about a good 30 years or so, but I'll lay it out for you. Fang Foom is actually an alien from the planet Kakara-Nathra, and he is a member of an alien species known as the Makluans. And the Makluans are actually a race of reptilian, dragon-like aliens who have the ability to shapeshift, similar to the Skrulls, in the fact that they can shapeshift, and they can actually mimic the powers and the voices of anybody whose forms they take. So all the crew members on Fang Foom's ship, whenever their ship crashed to Earth, they decided to disguise themselves as humans and enter themselves into the regular human society. Whereas Fang Foom decided that he would stay behind and try to repair the ship. But he decided he didn't want to reveal himself yet, so he could stay true to their plans of eventual world dominance. So he used a very strong alien herb to put himself into hibernation, and that one Chinese teenager manages to wake him up, and when he scares off the Chinese government, he goes back to sleep, and because of this, that only further cements the fact that the myth, the sort of urban legend that China has a mysterious sleeping dragon, because Fang Foom was actually awakened, I believe, in the 8th century as well, but this was only for a brief moment, and there was actually one human who caught a glimpse of him, and because of that, this began a long legendary myth that there is an enormous angry sleeping dragon in China, and so many Chinese people considered this area where Fang Foom's ship was, and he named it China's Valley of the Sleeping Dragon. That's pretty much Fang Foom's origin. Now I'll get into his exploits in the world of comics. And pretty much throughout the rest of the 60s, Fin Fang Foom would find it that he would have a very hard time just trying to get some nice sleep, as he would be abducted by the alien warlord known as the Collector and added to his collection of freaks and monsters. But, however, he was actually rescued by the Fantastic Four, only to be dropped off on a self-contained place called Monster Isle, which is sort of similar to the Godzilla movie's Monster Island, I guess you could say. However, since Fin Fang Foom is actually quite intelligent for a monster, and he's not just given an animal intellect like the rest of the monsters who believe that they have nowhere else to go beyond the island, he simply leaves the island and he returns to his cave to get some more sleep. Now, it wouldn't be until the 90s where Fin Fang Foom would be until Fin Fang Foom would wake up, and then he would actually would have wanted to wake up, because you see, the Mandarin decided to go to the Valley of the Sleeping Dragon along with another Chinese man, and when the Mandarin wakes Fin Fang Foom, he wants to sort of form a pact with Foom in order to destroy Iron Man. What he doesn't know is that Foom actually has a very strong world domination plan, and the Chinese man who accompanied him there was actually an alien dragon, a Makluan, just like Foom. And when this happens, all of the rest of the crew members of the ship finally reveal themselves for who they are. And soon, both Iron Man, along with Rhodey and the Mandarin, have to team up in order to fight this new alien threat. Eventually, Fin Fang Foom is completely destroyed. However, since he has very strong telepathic powers, he's actually able to transfer his mind and his consciousness into an antique Chinese dragon statue, quite appropriately, and he would actually take possession of a young boy, whom he would mutate into his new body. And when this happened, he would become destroyed by Iron Man again. And now, Fin Fang Foom decided to reform. Yeah. Fin Fang Foom apparently is no longer he was no longer a villain and a threat to the Marvel Universe, because now he decided that being an evil villain just didn't work out for him, so he decided that he would let Reed Richards manipulate him some, and he was shrunk down to normal human size, and he willingly allowed his powers to be hypnotically taken away from him. And he pretty much entered into normal human society, and he became a chef at a Chinese restaurant, strangely enough. Hell, he even formed his own superhero group, along with a couple of other sort of reformed monster villains, such as Electro the Robot, Gorgilla the Gorilla, and so on and so forth. Recently, that version of Fin Fang Foom was killed off, but now there's a new Fin Fang Foom that apparently we didn't know about. But all I know is that Fin Fang Foom, hopefully he'll return to being a villain in the Marvel Comics, because as humorous as seeing Fin Fang Foom as just like a regular human-type character, I much prefer to see him as a gigantic Godzilla-esque monster that threatens the safety of the whole world. That's probably one reason why I prefer him over most other Iron Man villains is, well, Fin Fang Foom is a dragon. I mean, come on, he's a dragon. He's a huge alien dragon that Iron Man has to fight. That's simply, you can't get more awesome than that. And I hope that we get to see Fin Fang Foom in an upcoming live-action Iron Man movie sometime soon, because I truly think that he's a great He's a great character. He's a great villain. He's a great monster, I believe. And that's pretty much all I have to say on Fang Foom. This is the second to last video in my Masters of Evil marathon, so stay tuned for the last one. It's going to be a real treat.